gone to 2 different competitions in Texas called iSweep, and so that was based upon sustainable energy engineering environment. So my first year was working with my mathematics project and talking about how that's can be helpful to NASA in creating different mechanisms to make it a more sustainable drop of a Mars rover. And so that was really amazing to see the different applications of my projects in the sustainable environment. I believe that this has really helped me see what I'm really interested in, as well as to solidify where I can go. STEM isn't necessarily just for the kids who are interested in going into science and engineering and mathematics. You know, it's for everyone. It's not just a field of study, it's a way of thinking. And so to be able to have different opportunities to meet with mentors and to talk about ideas and creativity and to foster that learning, it would be really beneficial.
We took 15 students and 4 medical professionals and a couple other extra adults to Ecuador to work with indigenous tribes down in the Amazon. And we geared this trip as a STEM trip because we want to make sure these students were gaining medical knowledge. But of course, the best part of it is that we were taking this science-y type thing and connecting it directly to missions, because this was a giant foot in the door for our missionaries to be able to get into the communities. And while they already had some bit of a relationship, it was just a huge step forward for them to come and have real needs met. And then we made sure that at every place, of course, we shared the gospel. And the Paraños did an incredible job. Their ministry is phenomenal. But they made sure they shared the gospel both with a little kids program and then with an adult program. And so while we would draw easily 100 to 150 people per clinic, all of them were able to hear the gospel while we were in the process of sharing medicine with them. The amount of knowledge that our students gained was near infinite. The doctors were incredible and were willing to share, answer any question that our students had. So while riding on the bus, which we did for many hours, students would ask, why does this happen? Or what do you do if this is the case, or whatever? And the doctors were so excited to be able to share their knowledge with these students. And the doctors mentioned how they were blown away at how eager our students were to just learn more and more, just sponges soaking it all up.
I remember one of our first meetings, we talked about blood pressure, how to take it, and what it actually meant. We spent most of the meeting, I would say, doing diagrams on the board of the heart, some type of what a murmur is, how to take blood pressure, and what it actually means. So that was a very great experience because, I knew what blood pressure was, but learning to take it and learning how it actually works was a great experience. And then doing that in the field with all the other triage elements, it was kind of just we learned that for one day and then you immediately pick up on it and are like, I can do this, it's easy. In the clinic, it was just, I wanted to reach out to everybody, and it was hard to get to everybody, but doing something medical, I've had that on my heart for a while. I've wanted to do different kinds of medical things in that field, and just being there actually deep into the medical aspect, I sat there and I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
High school students going on a medical mission trip is something that I've never done before. I've gone on medical missions in the past as a medical student, and as a first-year medical student, fourth-year medical student, never with high school students. So we were skeptical how these guys will do. Are they just going to sit there? Are they going to actually participate? So we met a couple times before we went, and we learned how to take manual blood pressures and went over some medical stuff. And once we got there, we were thinking, oh, this manual blood pressure thing really wasn't going to be needed. We have these automated cuffs, and we're going to have a lot of electronic things that will do it. Unfortunately, we had no electricity when we got there. So all of the training we did up here with the manual blood pressures and going over how to do a lot of things really came into play. And these high school students kicked it in gear. They really were just going out there and without being told, taking blood pressures, doing histories, getting physical exams, coming with us and seeing us do a couple things, and then they're like, all right, I'm going to check all these kids for lice while you talk to them. And then now they know how to check for lice, so they were checking for lice. Or a couple people had some throat infections, so while I'm talking to the mom, the other students are checking all the throats for throat infections because we know one of them had it. So it was just amazing how much initiative they all had, more than I've seen in first-year medical students. Most of the time you see with first-year medical students, they have a little bit of entitlement. They're like, we're medical students, we got this. These guys were just running in there. It was awesome. Each clinic was just better and better. I wouldn't send my kids anywhere else. This is amazing. I mean, my son just did the water wheel thing that you guys did. He was so excited about the water wheel. I wasn't home when he came, but my grandmother was there, or my mother-in-law was there, and his grandma, and he goes, "Grandma, I know how to make a water wheel." And he told her how to make it, and he built it with her, and they built a whole water wheel, like without even, it was amazing. It was amazing. Like, I don't know how, I probably wouldn't have been able to make a water wheel in 6th grade, and this guy in kindergarten is making it. So that was so impressive. I can't even wait to see what you guys have in store as they go up through the grades.
The purpose of my project was to solve a real-world problem for the Army Training Center in Brazil. A mission team from our school goes up there and helps out in Army Training Center. And basically, during their dry season, they don't have enough water to sustain all the residents of the camp. So my job was to figure out a way that they could get enough water per day without electricity and with not a lot of money. And it had to, the water had to travel 2 miles, a horizontal distance, and 90 meters elevation. And so basically what I did was just a lot of research and a lot of calculations with total dynamic head, flow rate, all of that, and I was able to engineer a pump system that would get the water there in a 24-hour period without electricity and up the 90-meter elevation so that it would supply them with 20,000 liters of water a day for the camp and so that the camp could sustain their residents. I've always wanted to go into medicine, but doing this project has honestly, not completely, but it really has changed my view on engineering. I never thought that engineering would be a direction that I would take, but being able to be a part of STEM and be a part of the science fair and all of that has really opened my eyes to the amazing things that I can accomplish in engineering, and I would love to maybe go into biomedical engineering or something like that.
The way you guys are making the STEM align throughout all the grades, you have a problem that is similar, and as you progress in the grades, you're going to see this problem attacked from different aspects to the point that you're solving it completely with just like this pump system. That is something that you don't get in high school. You don't get that in college. I think you get that stuff when you graduate, is when you start getting that and you're actually working. So having it's like an engineer. That's what an engineer does, is their job is to figure out how to make a pump for these people. It's not some theory, it's what they have to do. So having done that in high school, I've never even heard of that before. I haven't heard that in college. Who does that in college? In college, it's still a theory. You're still doing something in theory. You're not actually designing it and making it. And these students are designing it, making it, and are actually going to put the physical product in a country next year. I mean, you don't see that anywhere. That by itself, that problem-solving ability is going to set them up so well for the future. That's what we need. That's what we need in the United States. They're saying we're so far behind. I mean, that's what how much better can you do than that?
It's been really fun to watch Indian Rocks over the course of the years, just be able to focus in a little bit more on the things that are important. And so I know that before I got here, the mission trips were a huge thing. I still don't know of any school in the nation, not that I'm really well versed, but any school that intentionally sends their students out for a week in the year to do service projects for the community and whatnot. That already is a huge step forward in its focus. To now be able to, the steps we've taken to make sure we're reaching certain benchmarks academically and whatnot has been a good thing for the school to improve and to find areas where we're weak, where we can be more intentional. Now to take this idea of the STEM center, the STEM program here in the school to help our students in problem-solving ventures, in real-world application, in collaboration, again towards missions, that again is marrying the two things we're trying to do with our students in terms of leading them to a knowledge of Christ and what it means to serve the Lord in everyday life, and then to take our academic knowledge, specifically science knowledge, and to connect that again with missions. It's incredible. So it's awesome to watch our school finding yet another level of focus in how in successfully combining our two loves, the two things that we're trying to do for our students. And so to be here 13 years and see all the little steps along the way, a STEM center by itself would be good, and it would be a new way to focus. But again, to connect it with missions and to create this whole new foundation of worldview, biblical worldview integration, of saying that the Bible matters in all things, and to take science and math, sometimes that's the hardest thing to connect in biblical worldview. So now to take science and math and connect it with working with missionaries and reaching the lost through solving some of these problems is fantastic. I'm so proud to be a teacher here.